So, when putting together foreign policy, a country has three large groupings of ways of doing it. One is you help to create multilateral organizations. So, in that context, for example, Canada was a founding member of the Five Eyes. And if you create it, you can help shape it from its inception and it can help advance your interests in the region and in that organization. The other is to bolt on to pre-existing organizations. So, for example, Canada joined the Pacific Island Forum after it was formed as an observer. So you can kind of understand what's going on and maybe have a little bit of input, but you're not as central. But the third way is the way that I personally find the most interesting and think there's a lot of scope for Canada to do more, which is to have a unique relationship, to have a relationship with your partners that only you can provide. And in the case of Canada, two things that are very unique to Canada that would be potentially helpful is one, we are a bilingual country. We speak French and English, and we don't have that much baggage compared to a lot of other countries when you're looking at the Indo-Pacific. The other is we have an incredible pool of knowledge and talent within the First Nations and Inuit communities within Canada. And that hasn't really become part of our foreign policy engagement in a way that it could. So if you're looking at an area within the Indo-Pacific where both bilingualism and the experience and knowledge of First Nations and Inuit communities could really come to the fore, that would be Oceania. Oceania is the area between the triangle of Hawaii, Japan, and New Zealand. There are about 20 countries in there. They range in size and population numbers, but they have a lot in common with the First Nations communities of Canada. So, for example, they're relatively remote and they have relatively small populations. So that gives them challenges with transportation, energy, communications, education, health, all things that Canadian First Nations know very, very clearly. They also have deep, complex relationships with the land. They've been living on the land for millennia in many cases, and they have their own ways of governing land that isn't a Western way of doing it. And they include water along with land as an integral part of their psychology. Their communal land management, as a result, is very unique. And again, it's experience that we know very well from Canada. And at the same time, outside powers are trying to get access to their resources. So, for example, the people of the traditional leaders of Haida Gwaii, have a lot in common with the leaders in a place like Tonga in terms of what they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So facilitating the engagement between those communities might be a way of increasing stability, security, and prosperity for everybody involved. So those are two ways where Canada could be unique when engaging in the Indo-Pacific, particularly in Oceania. The French part, the bilingual part, is something that we can bring to the table because we have not only a big French-speaking community, but we welcome people from French Polynesia, New Caledonia, into the universities in Quebec at the same rates as Quebec students, the same fees as Quebec students. So they're there. We can work with them and they can teach us and we can learn from them, and perhaps together we can create a better, more secure, prosperous, free, and open Indo-Pacific.